session 2 of our intuitive pet parent workshop. But we just had a little snafu here. I thought I was recording our meet and greet with Bruce, and lo and behold, I was not. So we're just going to have to do it again, right? Meanwhile, we're having the big battle for mommy's lap because there's only one lap and there's 2 boys that want to sit in it. So here is Mr. Bruce, just wanting to give you a little FaceTime with my boy. We had a wonderful lawn adventure. Oh, hi, Miss Gladys is here saying hello to Mr. Bruce. We had a wonderful little lawn adventure today, and you can see he is sporting his fall colors, which he is a master at fall camouflage and hiding, aren't you? Aren't you, my angel? Yeah, we sure are. So we had a wonderful session of hide and seek with our boy this morning. Really fun, took some great family portraits. Meanwhile, Pearl has relocated here on my lap. So now that we've done that, because I don't want you guys to miss having a little FaceTime with the boy you helped me to find. And speaking of that, that's kind of where we're going to start today. Of course, last week, what we were talking about was, you know, what's the difference between our thoughts, our emotions, our intuition, our vibes, if you will. What does that look like? How can we start to feel our way through the sometimes confusing landscape of having a body and a mind and emotions, and maybe a feeling of a spirit connection or a shared universal connection of some sort. And then, you know, how does that relate to getting to know ourselves better, and then starting to pick up on the different ways that our animals want to communicate with us? I should probably pause and stop and say, for anyone who is watching this who doesn't know me, my name is Shannon Cutts. I am an animal sensitive and intuitive with animal love languages. I'm a Reiki master practitioner, and most importantly, I am an interspecies flock mama. And welcome to those of you who are just joining us. And so, of course, you can find us at animallovelanguages.com. If somebody has forwarded you this video, you're just kind of checking out what's going on with this whole intuitive pet parent thing. And my particular passion is really fostering whole interspecies family wellness, and really I'm actually having trouble finding the words. I really strong communication connections across species boundaries. I know it would be easy to say species barriers, but I don't see them as barriers. They're simply boundaries. Maybe we work a little differently. A lot of times I like to say that people are from Mars and pets are from Venus, because as human beings, this is what we talked a lot about in session 1, as human beings, we tend to spend a lot of time in our heads. We spend a lot of time with our words, and, you know, and even our social media and all the things, all the ways that we interact with one another. Even though spoken communication is only about 10% of the entire interaction that we're having with another being, and the other 90% or so is, you know, kind of body language and emotion and other nonverbal facial expression, other nonverbal cues, eye contact, things like that. We just really focus a lot on our heads and our words, and our animals are exactly the opposite. They're really in their bodies. You know, we spend a lot of time out of our bodies, up in our heads. Our animals are really in their bodies, like 24/7. If you are not in your body, you can always tell the animals that aren't in their bodies, because they're the ones that end up plated and served. So, you know, if you take your attention off what's going on in your immediate surroundings for a minute, you're going to be the gazelle in the herd that ends up, you know, on the menu at lunch. So, you know, it's about how we connect, and learning to kind of find, you know, we need to bring the headiness down a little bit, and our animals are going to work really, really hard to try to kind of bring their vibration into an alignment with us so that we can kind of meet in the middle, so to speak. And that's where being an intuitive pet parent really begins. And so for this week, of course, you all just had a chance to chat with Bruce, and we're gonna change directions a little bit, because last week was all about getting grounded and centered ourselves and just kind of on the same page with our lingo, again, with our words, with our language. What do we even mean when we say intuition? And this week, we are going to start talking about building that initial connection, the bridge between our own conscious, sentient awareness and our pets, and kind of trying to start finding that meeting place. And what does that take on our part, because our pets are already there. As an animal communicator, I experience that every day. Our pets are already ready and eager to connect with us. We are the ones that are kind of playing catch up, if you will. And forgive me, here and there, I'm still like popping over and letting people into the from the waiting room. So I am just going to be kind of popping back and forth. But so for this session, we're going to just change tracks just a little bit and start putting that bridge in place, those building blocks in place. And I'm going to start us out with a little story. I think it's a story that probably most of you are already quite familiar with, because of course, recently my rescued box turtle, Bruce, went missing. And he went missing for a whopping 7 days. 7 longest days of my life, except for the 6 days when I searched for his sister, Malti, 5.5 years ago. So Bruce has been with me for about 5.5 years now. And, for the first few years he was with me, he really wasn't that keen on my company. He was kind of he was feral. I call him feral. It's not a term that you see applied to box turtles all that often, but he had been removed from the wild as a younger turtle. Box turtles have very strong sight fidelity. They really want to be within a 2.5 to 3 mile range of their birth site for their whole lives. Maybe some of us can relate to that, right? They really have a kind of their home bodies. And so Bruce had been taken out of the wild against his will, rehomed several times. So he's in that gray zone where there's really no safe space for turtles. So he came to me, and we spent the first few years just me trying to convince him that I wasn't absolutely terrifying and out to eat him for lunch, and then started to develop a very, very close bond. And those of you who follow us on social media, especially over on Instagram at 11 Feathers and Shells, know that I have a shell puppy, essentially. And so, I really never foresaw that he would maybe actively try to escape. And at first, when he went missing, I thought he had just legitimately, he'd gotten out and it was an accident. And even as an animal communicator, it's very different when we're connecting with someone else's animal and we're kind of an objective, balanced, outside voice coming in to provide a little extra clarity to the situation versus when it's our own animal. And so Bruce went missing, and the day that I knew that it wasn't an accident, that he hadn't just found kind of a loophole, which was this little rotting area in the enclosure, and got out. I was talking to him one morning as I was out beating through the bushes and, turning over all the fall leaves. They're exactly box turtle colored. And I was just asking him to come out and show himself, and asking, him, please come home. Tell me, what do I need to do differently to invite you back into my life? And he said, you have paid more attention to me during the last week than during the whole last year when we were together every day. And that broke my heart. And the reason it broke my heart was because it was true. Now, life happens to all of us. And of course, this past year, my dad was making his final transition. I was making a career transition. I had a lot of death in my life. That's a strange thing to say, right? I had a lot of death in my life. That happens sometimes. These are phases of our lives that happen, and it's not that I look back and think, oh, I could have done things differently. I actually don't think that I, could have. I don't know how I could have met his needs any better, but that's beside the point. He had every right to leave because his needs weren't getting met. And that's where we're going to start today is, ironically, that's one of the number one complaints. Those of you who have any failed relationships in your life, and of course, don't we all, that's one of the number one complaints of human couples that don't make it is, you're there, but you're not really there. And it's easy enough to kind of let that slide begin when we're two Homo sapiens keeping company together, even when we truly love each other, and even when we think we're being together, because we both have one of these, our other little pet. We're both on our phones. We're both, working. We're both multitasking. So it becomes a kind of like, oh, okay, well, it's just a matter of who gets the ball rolling. And it's, both of us can relate when things break down, but it's another thing entirely when it's our animals, because we are their world. And, when you first got your animal, like when I first got Bruce, when I first got Pearl, oh my goodness, guys, just think back for a minute to when you first got, and I know many of you like me have several animals, but just pick one. Think back. I mean, when I first got this little love right here, he's 20, almost 23. I can't believe he's turning 23 in December. Yes, you are. He was this tiny little lump. He didn't even really have a tail yet. He was all gray. He was covered in baby bird formula. He had been bullied by the older, larger cockatiels in the aviary. He was missing 3 claws. You can see them if you look really close. And he's, you can see his left wing has never been able to grow the long flight feathers. That doesn't mean it's any less beautiful than your bright wing. It's just gorgeous. But he was a hot mess. And I would rush home from work every day to get there at like 4:58. He would come out, sit on my hand for 5 minutes. I'd feed him his supper, and he'd go to sleep. And I mean, it was that kind of love affair. But that didn't last forever. That's called the honeymoon phase. And it happens to all of us. And, so the challenge for us is going to be remembering that it doesn't matter what species we're in love with. Keeping that true love, that spark alive, is actually a discipline, and it can take a lot of work. The good news is that this isn't like doing your taxes. Like, this is work that we want to do, right? We can forget that we want to do it, but remembering is typically very joyful. There can be some heartache, like there was with Bruce, and trust me, there was a lot of back and forth dialogue. There was a lot of negotiation. And I'll just share very quickly one of the agreements that I made with, well, here's 2 of the main agreements I made with Bruce, were that he would have at least half an hour of dedicated time with me out running around on the lawn, etc., every single day. And that means none of this, no multitasking. I am watching him. I'm paying attention to him. Maybe I'm taking cute pictures of him. I'm guilty as charged, but I'm still focused on him. And he gets to come to my mom's with me when we go over. He was tired of not being a full card-carrying member of the flock. When I take Pearl and Malty over to my mom's every week, he wants to come. And so those were 2 promises that I made to him. So, that's just a little story to tuck in the back of your mind, and think about, it doesn't have to, it's not like I can say to Bruce, okay, fine, for, 12 hours each day that I am awake and at least fairly functioning, it's all going to be you, buddy. We can't necessarily do that. So it's a negotiation. And that's where, and trust me, I had colleagues, animal communicator colleagues of mine helping me with this process, because I was definitely not objective about all this. So this is where, it can take some time. For us, it took 7 days to kind of let the issues start coming out and start figuring out what was going on and how we could adjust. But underneath that all was love. So this is where we start. We start by asking ourselves, have I gotten so used to my animal's company, their constant presence, that I'm aware of them, but I'm not with them. I'm just we're living separate lives side by side. It's a difference between quality time, or, are you basically behaving like you're on hold with the pharmacy, or, the tax service, or wherever, and you're just doing all kinds of other things, and your pet is just like sitting there waiting for you to just notice them. And it's not to judge. I just shared the story of how I totally screwed up with Bruce, and he got so fed up with me that he left me, and it happens. So that's a huge reason why how I found the brave to even offer this workshop, is because he has so much to teach me, and he has so much to teach all of us. And the best news of all is that what he's teaching me, it's working. I am like so loopy in love with him again that it's just like, oh, I mean, my whole phone is full of pictures of my box turtle. So it really does feel like the first time. It really does feel that way. And that's actually a great song to listen to if you're just kind of like, oh God, I'm so exhausted. It just feels like being an intuitive pet parent feels like another thing I need to add to my to-do list. And it's like, go listen to that song, dance around the house a little bit, take a few cute photos, and, just kind of rethink where your pet is falling on your priority list. But I don't want that to sound like an intellectual exercise, because it's not going to work if it comes from there. So what we're going to do today is talk about what we actually need to do to get out of our head and move down back into our sensory body, which is where love lives. It's where empathy lives. It's where compassion lives. It's where love lives. It's where all relationships take birth. And if they're going to survive, it's where they live. So let's talk about what we can do to start rearranging our priorities from a gut level, a sensory level, to find not 24 hours, not 12 hours, but maybe half an hour a day to just put everything down, silence everything, and just be with our animals, to fall in love all over again with our own pet who's already in our house, bought and paid for, rescued, totally there, willing and waiting. And so the main thing we're going to be doing today is to actually I'm going to do my utmost to give you an experience of this. The activity is called Meditate on Your Pet. And I'm sure some of you are listening and thinking, oh God, no. Okay, she just said the word meditate. No, please, anything but that. I can't meditate. I can't even focus for 5 minutes. I walk into the other room and I don't even remember why I'm there. Guys, I did it this morning. Okay. So I eventually remembered that I was there to turn on the printer, but then I didn't remember why I needed to turn on the printer. It happens. Okay. So let me explain a little bit, because I've been meditating since I was 19. I'm turning 51 this year. So it's a long time. And it hasn't always been easy. And I still have days where it's really hard to do. But here's the deal about meditation. Right now, just call to mind something that you're worried about. Just think of one thing that you're a little, or maybe ideally a lot, worried about. You have that in your mind? Isn't it easy to think about it? That's meditation, believe it or not. think about, I know a lot of people, I'm not one of these people that plays games on my phone, primarily because I just can't, I'm not, my mother plays solitaire for hours, and that's her form of meditation. If you play games on your phone, if you like to build or look at Pinterest boards, if you are addicted to binge watching a certain series on Netflix, if you like to read John Grisham thrillers like yours truly, that is meditation. Meditation is just making a choice where to focus your mind. Meditation is for the mind. It's like taking your mind to a spa, if you can think of it that way. And so this activity we're going to do today is to give you an experience to prove, hopefully, to prove that you actually have what it takes to be a master meditator. And we're not even going for that. We're just going to dip our toe in the water because our pets are worth it. And because that honeymoon phase of being with our pet was so awesome that we really want to have it again. We want to know how to recreate that on demand, so to speak. And so that's kind of where we're coming from with this exercise. And I thought of so many different ways. Okay, how can I introduce it? How can I explain what we're about to do? How can I give everyone kind of a sense of what it would be like to do this? And honestly, everything in me kept coming back to the same story. Many moons ago, when I was in my 20s, I went off to find myself, and I lived in India for a period of time. And when I was in India, I heard a story that has stuck with me for all these years. It actually formed the cornerstone of my dedication, my commitment to meditation, and just believing that I can do it, which is half the battle, more than half the battle. So I'll just start us off with this beautiful story. A long time ago in India, there lived a man who really wanted to attain enlightenment, to know God. He was a simple man, not well versed in the sometimes complicated religious practices of his day. But he really wanted to have this experience, to know God, to have this enlightened experience. So he gathered up all his courage and humbly went to visit a local guru, an Indian meditation teacher, and he asked him for instruction. How do I what do I do? Where do I start? How do I attain enlightenment? The guru was very gracious and gave the man some very specific instructions and then sent him back home to practice. The man was so excited, he practically ran home. He immediately got into the meditation position his new guru had taught him, and he closed his eyes and started to focus. But then he heard a buzzing in his ear, and a mosquito bit him on his shoulder, and it itched. So he scratched it. It's like, okay, shake it off, shake it off. He got all settled down again to meditate. But then his foot fell asleep, so he had to get up and move around to wake it up. Okay, I'm going to keep trying. I know I can do this. The guru was so positive. So once more, he got all settled back into his meditation posture, cross-legged, back straight, the whole 9 yards. But by then it was dinner time, and his pet goat was hungry, and it started to headbutt him for dinner. The man just gave up at that point. He felt so demoralized. So the next day he went back to the guru and he asked him for more help. He explained that he just couldn't seem to concentrate enough to meditate. The guru was very compassionate. He said, okay, I'm just going to give you some more instructions. Send him back home to practice again. Again and again, day after day after day, the same exact thing happened. And the man was getting more and more frustrated. Finally, he went back to the guru and he said, I feel like giving up. At this rate, I'm never going to attain enlightenment. Luckily, his guru was very wise. He said to the man, tell me what you love the most. The man instantly brightened up and he said, I love my pet goat the most. The guru said, okay then, I want you to go home and meditate on your goat. No matter what comes up, no matter what other thoughts or distractions come up, try to bother your mind, try to distract you, try to get your attention. Just don't give them any of your attention. Focus only on your goat. The man was delighted. Now, this he could do. He hurried home and got all settled into his best and brightest meditation posture. Right away, he started to meditate on his beloved pet goat. He visualized his goat's adorable ears and cute round eyes and button nose, and his wonderful bleats and soft coat and his precious little hooves. The man got so absorbed in love for his goat, his heart expanded more and more, and he instantly attained enlightenment. I know, right? Now I'm not a guru, and we are not here to attain enlightenment. But actually, I mean, in a way, we kind of are. We're seeking enlightenment about our pets. We're seeking intuition. We're seeking to tap in, to turn the switch on of our own intuitive selves so we can connect in a sensory way with our animals. We want to feel our connection rather than just stay up here and think it to death. We want to move past our thoughts, even past our emotions, down to the level of vibration. And being an intuitive pet parent means we must learn to tune in enough to sense our pets' wants and needs accurately, preferably without the mind's interference. So let's talk just for a minute before we dive into our own meditation about what stops us. What stops us from being able to tune into those vibrations, to feel those vibrations? What stops us is our left brain. Our left brain is just not going to be down with us dropping, all the serious stuff it thinks we should be doing to get all lovey-dovey and meditate on our goat or our dog or our cat or our horse or our parrot or our turtle or bearded dragon or whatever, whoever it is. So we've got to keep our left brain from interfering. We have to give it a job to do, something compelling to think about, and preferably something it finds really interesting. And the left brain, here's a little tip for you. If you haven't already figured this out, the left brain really likes to focus on details. So for this little adventure, we're going to give your left brain the assignment to focus on every last cute little detail of your pet. And for those of you who really relate to the man with the goat and don't think you can quiet your mind, no matter what, don't worry. We're not going to be here long. And it's something that, it's going to be part of your homework. So you can have a little practice session every day and just kind of ease into it and just get a sense, a taste of what is possible when you can quiet your left brain enough to give your right brain and your sensory body a chance to come out and play. So I've done a lot of talking. You've done a lot of listening. There's a lot of left brain going on right now, right? Okay, and there's also a little bit of singing to toes, isn't there? Okay, that was a little intermission music for you. So before we get started on our own meditation, let's take a minute and balance our brain hemispheres and just take it down a notch. One of my favorite ways to do this, and we chatted about it just a little bit last week, is to use different kinds of breathing techniques. And one of my coaches introduced me to box breathing, and it's just one of many. Another breathing technique I love is Dr. Andrew Weil's 4-7-8 breathing. Easy to find on YouTube. There's alternate nostril breathing if you are into yoga the way that I am. There's Kapalabhati breathing, which is like a breath of fire, I think is what that's called. Box breathing is something that comes from the military. The way my coach explained it to me, apparently Navy SEALs use it to calm down before a mission. And I figure if it can calm a Navy SEAL, it can probably calm me. So she likes to use it before our coaching sessions and So I'm just going to share with you exactly the same way she does it. What you do is just breathe into a count of 4, hold to a count of 4, breathe out to a count of 4, and hold to a count of 4. And if you like, you can kind of even visualize this, which is what I do to give my left brain something to do. While my right brain is breathing and just kind of going all flowy and floaty, my right brain is visualizing a box. So that gives you a really good visual on how much fun it is to hang out with a left brain all day, right? But so 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. So if your left brain is really going great guns, you can give it that assignment. So I'm just going to count us off for a few rounds of box breathing and then go right into guiding you through this meditation activity. So let's start by just taking one deep inhale in and one deep exhale out, just to kind of reset and get all on the same page. And let's start our box breathing. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Last round. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Now just find a comfortable rhythm for your breath as we start the meditation. First, just think of your pet. Just call your pet's image into your mind's eye. Begin to create a 3D picture of your pet in your mind's eye, from top to bottom, bottom to top, back to front, front to back, and from side to side to side to side. Now, move your inner eyes to the top of your pet's head. Notice where your pet's eyes are. Are they facing forward like your eyes? Are they on either side of your pet's head? Or are they somewhere else? What size are your pet's eyes? What color are they? Are your pet's eyes one single color? Two different colors? Several colors? How far off the ground are your pet's eyes? What is in your pet's direct line of vision when they open their eyes first thing each morning? Does your pet blink frequently or very seldom? Or do you know? How does your pet use their eyes to see the world? What would it feel like to have your pet's eyes instead of your eyes? Would you see life, the world, yourself differently? Now let's move our attention to your pet's nose. Where is your pet's nose located on their face? Is it close to their eyes or far away? Is your pet's nose big or small? How does it feel when you touch it? Is it soft, hard, somewhere in between? How do you know when your pet is sniffing something? How does their nose move? What would it feel like to have your pet's nose instead of your own nose? Would smells be more intense? Less intense? Just different? Do you think you would like that? Now let's move our attention to your pet's ears. Where are their ears located? Are their ears on top of your pet's head? On either side of their head? Like your ears are? Are they standing up straight or floppy or camouflaged in some way? What shape and size are your pet's ears? How do they feel when you touch them? What do they smell like? How do you know when your pet is listening to something? What do you think it would feel like to have your pet's ears instead of your own ears? How would the sounds you hear every day sound different if you had your pet's ears instead of your own ears? Next, let's turn our attention to your pet's mouth. Is your pet's mouth large, small, medium-sized? Where is your pet's mouth located on their face? Does your animal have teeth? If so, a lot of teeth or just a few teeth? Where are their teeth located in their mouth? If your animal doesn't have teeth, what do they have? A tongue? A beak? How does your pet eat? What would it feel like to have your pet's mouth instead of your mouth? What would food taste like if you had your pet's mouth and taste sensations instead of your own? Next, let's move on to the neck area. How long and wide is your pet's neck? Is your pet's head held up straight, at an angle, out ahead of the body, curved downward? Does your pet even have a visible neck? How does your pet use their neck to move their head around? What would it feel like if you had your pet's neck instead of your own neck? Now let's focus on your pet's limbs. Does your pet have arms or legs? How many? What do they look like? How long or wide are they? If your pet doesn't have arms or legs, do they have wings or fins? A tail? None of these? How does your pet move? Quickly or more slowly? Visualize your pet being still and then moving around. What is movement like for your pet? What do they need to start moving and to stop moving? What would it be like to move using your pet's limbs or your pet's body instead of your own body? And now let's focus on your pet's body. What is their body like? Is it broad, slim, squishy, or muscular? What is their body covered with? Hair, feathers, scales, a shell, an exoskeleton, smooth skin, thick fur, something else? Are they heavy or light when you try to pick them up? Is it easy or hard to move your pet when they don't want to move? What does your pet's body feel like when you give them a pat? Do they feel warm or cool to the touch? What would it feel like to live inside your pet's body? What would it feel like to be touched or held if you had your pet's body instead of your own body? Let's move inside now to your pet's heart. Can you hear their heartbeat? Can you feel their heart? Can you sense the blood moving through their body? Feel your pet breathing in and out, in and out. What is going on in your pet's mind? What are their favorite things to do? What does it feel like to be your pet and see you come into the room? How does your pet feel when they see you and interact with you? What is your pet's character like? How do they express their love to you? Now take a mental step back and gaze at your pet with your inner meditative eyes, the eyes of your intuition and your heart. If you had to describe your pet to someone else using just 5 words, which 5 words would you use? Consider this for a minute. Don't worry if you're having trouble choosing. You'll have plenty of time since we'll be revisiting this step in your homework this week. So what was that like for you? To just take 5-6 minutes and just meditate on your pet. Just pretend you are your pet for just a few minutes out of your day. For this week's homework, I'll ask you to set aside 5 minutes each day to do the same thing, or you can make up your own version of it. When you get the video replay tonight or tomorrow, you can listen back to the video if you want me to guide you through it, or you can just sit with your pet, literally meditate with your pet. You can invite your pet and just pretend you're the man with the goat and just sit with your pet and just become absorbed in watching them. This is really the best way. It's what I do now with Bruce every morning, and I try to do it with, well, we do it with Pearl all day, every day, right? And of course with Malty, if I can, of course, Malty's version of meditating is to eat. So we have to do meditation in very short segments with her. But just, find something that feels good and just set aside 5 or 6 minutes to just meditate on or meditate with your pet. And then in your homework, you'll just have a little place to jot down. Just challenge yourself, invite yourself to notice one new thing every day about your pet that you've never noticed before. And then just write that down. And just, do your best to create a little quiet zone. I know it's tempting even to bring your phone just in case, or even just they might do something really cute and you want to, take a picture of it. Just put all of your devices in another room, close the door, and let them play amongst themselves for 5 or 6 minutes. And just spend this time. It's made a huge difference for me and Bruce. It has kept my love affair with Pearl alive for almost 23 years now, and with Malty for 8 years. It's just, it's so vital, because as we talked about, it moves us past the left brain and all the things we think we know about the other beings in our life. We give all of our attention, our right brain and our left brain and our sensory body, and we just become aware of the energy, the vibration, the intuition of another being, regardless of species. We can use the same thing for anyone in our life where we want to build a closer relationship, but the more we just start to tune in and just notice what it feels like to be in the presence of just the vibration, the conscious aliveness, the energy of another being, another life form. And this is what wakes the love up within us again, that the wonder, oh my goodness, there's a living, breathing tortoise or dog or horse or cat or iguana or whatever, whoever right beside us. Oh my goodness. So amazing. It just blows the left brain right out of the water because it just can't take it in. It goes beyond the mind. And this is where we find our empathy. And empathy is a huge building block for intuition. Empathy is what we just did. We start to imagine, is what some people call walking a mile in someone else's shoes. That doesn't sound very fun to me, but we don't even have to walk. We can just sit with, we can be with, just being with another life form, another living, conscious, sentient life form is empathy. We start to sense their vibration, experience how they perceive and interact with their world and with us. Just turn everything upside down. Instead of us, how are people interacting with me? How am I interacting with other beings in my life? And sorry, guys, somebody just popped in and out of the waiting room here. And this is how you start to pick up, it sounds like a tall order for the next 6 days. Notice all these new things about your pet, especially if you've been living with them for years. Let me just tell you, I have noticed so many things about Bruce in the last couple of weeks since he came home to me that I never noticed before. And it's so much fun. And so I encourage you to consider keeping this going even beyond the next week. And just, your left brain will love it. They will totally love it. Like they'll be looking for something new that they can add to the list. Your left brain's gonna be like, okay, something for the list, and it'll give it a great job to do. So I hope you have enjoyed this meditation today. I have been humbled and honored that you have stuck with me, with us, to learn a little bit more about interspecies intuition and just developing a closer relationship with your own pet. I look forward to hearing how it's going. You will get the video replay later today or tomorrow morning, depending on how well I do with the editing. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon for our third session next week. So thank you again for your time, your love, your attention. Oh my goodness. Miss Nina Coyote just walked past me and showed itself. Amazing. And Charity, I am so glad that you are enjoying your experience and am so honored and humbled to co-host this workshop with Pearl and Bruce. So lots and lots of love to you. And until next time, bye for now.